Today I am excited to share with you something very special to me, a sketchbook which is very dear to my heart. Some may even consider it an art book, although many of its pages consist solely of sketches made from life. Yet to me it is much more than that. It is my personal visual diary. This is precisely why this sketchbook tour holds such significance for me. With every turn of a page, I am transported to a sea of cherished memories. By the way, this wasn't my first page, it was the last one. I had a fear of ruining the initial spread, so I made my very first drawing on the fourth page instead. It was a year ago. And that day I had only half an hour to draw my friend from life before he left the city, and I wouldn't see him for quite some time. That prompted me to open up this album. During those 30 minutes, I was just scrambling to find a good spot for the model and myself, and then I quickly drew a rough sketch with a pencil. It was only a couple of days ago that I finally added paints to complete the piece. Now, moving chronologically, the second painting I made was this one. The idea was to draw portraits from left side of the album and different landscapes and architecture and everything I will meet in my life from this side. While I was painting, it started raining, and completing the sketch already under the roof, I decided to add a fish swimming through such humid, watery air, adding a surrealistic touch to the scene. I remember this touching performance. You know, this is one more great thing about sketchbooks. One can use them as two-in-one teleporter and time machine. And after that performance, I went to a German cafe and decided to sketch it. It was my first time urban sketching in a cafe. I tried to pretend that I was feeling quite confident as I sat at my corner table, sketching people, trying not to look at them, when suddenly a cute girl came up to me and asked if she could take a photo of me. I agreed, so now I have a couple of photos of my first experience of that kind. I'll add a link to her Instagram page in the description below. The next evening, I decided to repeat this experience and went to another cafe. The dessert was adorned with a flower, and I asked the waitress if the flower was edible, like made from glaze, for example, or something like that. She answered that it was a real flower. I was intrigued as I had never seen this kind of flower before. And when I got home, I looked it up and found out it was just a fuchsia flower. So I definitely knew about it, but I had never known how they look like. I wanted a reference to these flowers in real life. So I incorporated a painting of a real branch with fuchsias and a colibri bird, connecting the dessert, flowers and the plant on the right page. Then Halloween was coming up, and I did a series of quick sketches for YouTube. You know, there were so many terrible events in real life that I didn't want to paint anything scary. That's why all my characters were cute and fun. And I also animated the last illustration from the series, and it was a reference to Joker.
Speaking of it, you know how I got these scars?
Now I live in a city where I know nobody, That was the reason I went on dates with my sketchbook instead of real people. But this picture represents a little change. This beautiful woman, who by the way looks entirely different from my sketch, I have no idea why I caught the likeness of other people much better than hers. So yeah, she invited me to go hill walking with her team, and we had an excursion to a cheese factory. You may already know the story about me creating my smallest travel art kit and painting my hand with it from my previous video. The chronology of this diary breaks now, because this sketch is from the future, relative to the pictures on the adjacent pages. In that future, I decided to visit my old friends who now live in distant cities in different countries. And this delightful girl has now taken up a new hobby. She knits adorable sweet toys. And if you want to see them, you already know where to find the link. Oh, this page still smells so delicious. I painted this raspberry and splashes with the juice from one of raspberries I gathered last year with my hands. It turned out that the juice isn't as light fast as the watercolor I used for a smaller raspberry. And here I used real wine, but also some amount of ordinary painting mediums. Then I visited a city where this vibrant and charming young woman lives. She had given a birth to her first child some time before, and I sketched the process of feeding from life. Different page, different city, and the next sketch from life. The same sofa, the same cat, but different people. Next day, these people and I went for a winter walk, and there I came across this house that drew my attention because of its fairy tale-like shape. When I returned home, I decided to paint it, slightly exaggerating its shape. Then the idea of drawing its gingerbread brother came to my mind. I had seen glaze of exactly the same color earlier. It was still winter, but I wanted to depict something more colorful and warm. And I recalled a beautiful summer day when we hung out in the backyard. Zefirka played with an apple that fell from the tree. Tommy wanted to play with her, but she ran away, and he had to be content with just an apple. The overall scene looks like paradise to me. The rose tree, by the way, in reality is a rose bush, entwined around an apple tree. And we'll meet these wonderful people on some of the next pages. That day I felt a bit odd. I wasn't enjoying how slowly I was filling my sketchbook. I wanted to ease the pressure of making only polished and meaningful pictures, so I decided to doodle some quick spiral squares, clockwise, counterclockwise, inside out and outside in. Surprisingly, they began to resemble kinky hair to me, which inspired me to add more doodles, hinting at other features for a portrait. I then dared to splash some watercolor on top, and as the doodles on his shoulder looked like a reflection of a metropolis to me, I chose colors to emphasize that. On the left page, I continued my rebellion against overly thoughtful drawings. Here I doodled a chain of fishes, each biting the next one. The third page of my little sabotage. And this was a sketch drawn from life during a barbecue we had. It was cold and everyone kept moving. One person then another went inside a house to get warmer clothes. As a result, no one came out looking like themselves. A couple of sketches of our local scenes. We just noticed this entrance opened and dived into it. It was quite a surprise to find this little vibrant courtyard inside. This door drew my attention because of its antique look, and in contrast it had a huge number of code locks on it, which is pretty unusual, I guess. As I was sketching from both sides of this album and chose pretty random pages from time to time, I got it wrong and held the album upside down during drawing. I noticed it only when the sketch was ready. I had a couple of ideas to salvage the situation and decided to choose this one with almost parallel reality. In the first painting, my friend is playing chess online at home, where he feels like a prisoner and dreams of escaping to a different city to be free. Actually, this wish was fulfilled afterward. And then I made the second sketch, which isn't as good, and I'm sorry about the absolute unlikeness. I didn't have time to sketch from life or take a photo, so I drew from memory mostly, but I don't have enough skills for this yet. Here I sketched my tabletop easel. This was a pianist who played in the magnificent Diana Temple, a beautiful gazebo in Munich. As I listened to the music he played, it reminded me of another gazebo in the Polish city of Lodz, where I unexpectedly danced just a week before. How do you like this extremely eclectic building? It represents nearly all European architectural styles of the medieval, Renaissance and Baroque periods. Over and above, this spread has one little trick. The right part was a plein-air small watercolor piece of the church that I made not far from the place I live now. While I painted, it became cold and dark, so I depicted only the right half. Then, while I traveled, I looked for the perfect left part for it, and I found it in Krakow, Poland. This is the Wawel Castle. And in between, I made a transition to connect them. Even though this spread is roughly in the middle, the pages after it were already filled by then. Yeah, I'm pretty chaotic when it comes to page order. So you'll get to see more of that journey in my upcoming sketchbook. And now let's discover what's on the next page. One more is a doodle spread, where I dared to give a first try to monoline portraits. After that, I tried this technique in my draft sketchbook, where they turned out much better. But that day, I wanted to conquer my fear of spoiling the sketchbook. It's just a paper, right? Actually, that evening was not as boring as I captured it. But portraying dynamic and active mimicry from life is still hard for me. So while this pretty girl energetically spoke and gesticulated, I focused on catching colors and main shapes only. Oh, this day was a complete adventure. I went to this place I knew for a year through the forest. But I didn't know that all that huge territory, including even the part of the forest, belonged to one person. And that very day, the owner decided to enclose it with a fence. So I walked my usual known trope when I saw a fence on my way. It was far from the place I wanted to paint, so I decided that I needed to bypass that closed territory to find another way to my destination point. But there was a big stream on my way. I was slightly disappointed as I realized I needed to go along that stream in the opposite direction of my goal and just hope that there is a bridge over it. Luckily, my hopes came true. I found a fairy tale small bridge near the abandoned house. And after a long way, I finally achieved that place I wanted to draw. This little blue house is the home of a swan. Can you believe it? How do you like this fairy place? I believe my long way was worth it. This spread reminds me of my first meeting with real mountains. It was absolutely stunning. Mountains with snow hats, beautiful crocuses everywhere, delightful weather despite what we were told the day before our hiking. 2 pages were made in a bit different techniques, but I guess I managed to connect them naturally. This spread, like the previous one, was painted in 2 parts. First, the right part, quickly and roughly from life. That day I first realized that cows are not as slow as I thought. They kept moving all the time, so I had a hard time capturing them. And then I had to use my first brush pen to clarify them a bit. And the left page was painted at home, so I think it came out a little better. Do you agree that sketching from life is much more difficult? This picture brings back memories of when I met my dear friends. I hadn't seen them for more than a year, as they now live in a different country, and I'm so happy I had an opportunity to visit them. Playing Dixit with my buddies. Sorry for slight disproportions, guys. I hope we'll meet soon again. The day before this epic board game day, we had a spontaneous art session with this charming girl who draws portraits amazingly fast and nice. So we tried to draw each other. Then I visited one fairy and her wayward cat. I adore her cuisine, so I am glad I captured her cooking for me. I like how she turned out in this picture and how her cat's mood was captured here. The next spread and the next picture of a wonderful girl cooking for me. It's definitely a diary of sweet memories. Here I asked my friend to take a comfortable posture and not to move. But I see that for some reason it didn't help me to catch the likeness better than in all other cases when I painted moving people. But I am just learning. Both these portraits of the girl from the previous page were made to check the contrast between my skills of drawing from life and painting from the photo I made. And yes, photo reference makes a huge difference for me, as here the likeness was caught. When I showed this portrait to our mutual acquaintances, all of them recognized her, but it's not enough for me. I hope to draw better in the future. Oh wow, now we are already back to this portrait we discussed in the beginning. And on the left page, I combined 2 memories from one city. It is a fragment of its main station, and this is a guy I met on the street. He helped me to carry my suitcase to the hotel. And while I needed to wait for my check-in time, I had some time to draw him while he was telling me about his life. And people passing by looked over my shoulder at the page with a sketch in progress, then lifted their eyes to him and showed a thumbs up. Do you remember this guy? It's with him that I danced in that gazebo back then. He's the husband of my friend I visited this summer, full of meetings, and she was recording that dance. I was so glad to visit them. They are dancers, by the way, and they have a cat too. So yep, so many cats in this sketchbook, much more than in all my life before the last 2 years. And I am closing the circle with my last and first page, full of rain droplets and a farewell mood. See you, and be happy wherever you are. The sun shines everywhere in the solar system. From time to time.